You're now listening to the 1130 podcast. Enjoy the show.
Nasty, hateful, insane nation that doesn't exist.
Yeah, what it do, everybody? It's your man Drake, aka Drake on Wheels. Y'all already know what it is, man. Welcome back, everyone, to the 1130 podcast. What's good, everybody doing out there, man? It's Wednesday. We made it back here. It's the middle of the week. You know what time it is. It's not 7:30, it's 11:30, man. It's time for the podcast. Thank everyone coming back here and joining me for the podcast. For everyone who's listening on Spotify, and for those who are watching on YouTube, I appreciate it so much. If you're new to the show, you're new to the podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe button here on YouTube, and also leave a 5-star rating and subscribe to the 1130 podcast on Spotify, man, for real. And also, don't forget to follow the 1130 podcast on all social media platforms. But you guys, man, dope show. I'm excited. It's Wednesday. Got a cool guest that's going to be joining me in just a bit, you guys. My guy, William Hollan. He's a published author. He's an entrepreneur. He's a dope podcast host of conversations about ... My guy, Will, is going to be coming through here on the podcast to chat it up about his books, about bullying, and so much more, man. That's going to be really, really cool, you guys, man. But before I dive in, I got this awesome, cool 1130 podcast merch. For real, tap in. The link is in the bio on my Instagram page at the 1130 podcast _ on Instagram, you guys. Yes, get at me. I don't have to say it no more. The other Instagram page, I got hacked, all that blah blah blah. Get at me. Hit the link in the bio. Get some merch, man. For real, we're gonna get into the show. And first off, man, yo, I said this some time ago, and I thought it was so wild, man. I thought it was so wild, and I mentioned this to Babe too. I was like, yo, man, when it's just not me. It's a lot of people, bro. And it's like when you post a picture of, let's say, you and your woman, or you and your mom, or your son, or your daughter, or whatever like that, 50, 60, 70, 80 likes. As soon as you post something to say, yo, I'm starting this new business, anybody want to help me, or yo, I got this new podcast episode out, tune in, 1 or 2 likes, or if not, crickets. And it's so wild that it's, you know, and some people say that's why, you know, I don't post, you know, personal information on social media or my personal business. But it's crazy how so many people are infatuated with people's personal lives, man. Like, we can't be supportive of one another and be like, hey, yo, check this out now. And I learned from my guy Jimmy IV. Shout out to my guy Jimmy IV that he man, just because people ain't commenting don't mean people ain't watching them. Just because they ain't commenting don't mean they didn't see it or whatever like that. I know they did though, but I just find that to be so weird. I post a picture with me and little man just, you know, just having our little moment of chilling. Yeah. And as soon as you say, yo, man, new episode up, man, I got a new business coming out, man, just crickets. But, man, what's going on there? We need to do better. And I saw this thing on TikTok where it's like, it's your friends, man. It's your friends that's the reason that you don't have a lot of views on your page, or it's your friends' fault that, you know, you're not getting a lot of support. Because if you look at it and if you go off TikTok, right, TikTok will, if you make a video, you post a video, even on Instagram or whatever like that, but TikTok, this is where I saw the video, you post that video, it sends that video out immediately to all the people that you are friends with and everything. The ones that's going to see it first, all your friends and everything like that. And you ain't getting them views because your friends are shortcutting you. They're not watching your whole video. They skipping past and stuff like that. So, man, me to you guys, man, support each other, man. Support one another. It's gonna go a long way. A lot of people got that sort of business mentality, or that mentality is like, man, what am I gonna get out of it? You know, if I'm gonna do this for you, what I'm gonna do, you know, I'm gonna get it back, you know. And in some cases it's like that, but come on, man, support is free, bro. Support is definitely free. I wanted to get that out the way, man, because I thought that was just on my mind, and that was just like, yeah, like people are so fascinated with people's personal lives, man. But just when I'm saying, hey, yo, man, I got this podcast, man, and yo, you can come on and we could spit game or we could talk about this and let's do that. But crickets, though. But soon as you post some crazy shit or you post something with something about your family or whatever, they all in your business though. It's crazy though. But you guys, we're gonna move on here on the podcast. Speaking of crazy, you guys, down in Texas, man, yo. And you might want to point the finger at, or I ain't gonna say you might want to point the finger at, but some people pointing the finger at Halloween. A lot of fingers have been pointed at on to Netflix. But yeah, this junk down in Texas, man, this restaurant, this pizza junk, yo, they sell a bunch of pizzas though. But a certain type of pizza that they have put on sale, you guys, is called the Jeffrey Dahmer special. Yes, man, this is really getting like out of hand though, for real though. On this pizza, you see fingers, eyeballs, and all this stuff like that. Obviously, this ain't real though, but man, like people are taking this to the next level, man. I'm talking about all the way to the next level. Like the Jeffrey Dahmer junk came out on Netflix, what, like 3 weeks ago? Excuse me, 3 weeks ago or so, maybe a month ago. And man, it just took it off to another universe, and people are selling costumes on eBay, in which eBay, I believe they took it down, and just so many other documentary specials coming out on other streaming platforms. I'm just like, wow, like it's just crazy how America and how the world is infatuated with serial killers and all this stuff. Like WTF though, like really WTF though. The Jeffrey Dahmer special though, some people mad about it, and some people I look at and then some people are taking pictures with their kids. Like, really? WTF, man. That's a WTF moment. But speaking of WTF, you guys, man, it's time for the WTF moment of the week, you guys. Yes, WTF moment of the week, man. Come straight out of here, man. Washington, D.C., you guys. Yo, everybody, man, who's tuning in, and you from the DMV area, or man, if you from DC, Washington, DC, in the city, man, it's a couple of buses, bro. You just try to avoid. You just don't want to ride. It's so much going on with them. That's the 92, the 90, the X2. Oh my goodness, the X2, man. You see everybody named Mama on the X2, boy. I'm telling you, that's a story right there. That's a whole podcast episode for your ass on the X2 bus stop. The bus stop line. Man, the W4, some would say the 70. It's just so many bus lines and stuff like that. But the W4 bus line, you guys, it was a group of teens on it, and man, when I used to ride the Metro bus on a regular, I would try to avoid the time frame from 2:30 to about like 5:30 because it's rush hour, kids coming home, especially at the subway stations and stuff like that. But yeah, teens on the bus, they coming home from school, and I'm seeing this video, and they are forcing this lady off the bus, man. They pushed this lady off the bus. Now all teens were charged though, but WTI, man, check this out.
The victim in this case received a personal phone call and apology from Metro's general manager, Randy Clark. I know that a lot of you saw this disturbing video, and among the many questions you likely had was, why didn't the bus driver stop? Tonight, I have answers for you. Even with blurred faces and beeped out curse words, this video is hard to watch. A group of teenagers verbally and physically assaulting a woman on the W4 Metro bus.
I was disgusted by it. I thought it was terrible.
And the only way I knew to help.
This young mom, who wants to remain anonymous, recorded the video. She says it was Monday around 4 in the afternoon. She says the woman gave up her seat for her 2 young children, then politely asked the teenagers to stop cursing. That's when she says things escalated.
As though if she was not calling on God, it would have been worse.
Through the screaming and chaos, you can hear the woman repeatedly asking the bus driver to stop. The attack seemingly going on for several minutes until the bus stops and the teens, with the assistance of a man on board, drag the woman and eventually throw her off the bus. So we visited that stop on Alabama Avenue and spoke to another W4 bus driver. Do you pull over or just... So you should pull over and alert the police. In fact, Metro tells us if a driver is aware of a dangerous situation, they can stop when safe to do so and use the onboard alarm system to call for police. Metro Transit Police are now investigating if the driver in this case followed that policy.
Metro or somebody should be held accountable for it and what they should do for the safety of the passengers.
To give them citations like $300 or $400, and they probably won't.
Like, WTF, man. WTF. That is crazy. That's crazy. A lot of people was like, man, yo, ain't nobody was going to intervene or help. Look here, bro. One of them little kids, one of them little motherfuckers put their hands on me or whatever. Oh, it's a wrap. That's why you didn't really see no one getting involved in it, bro. But this wasn't nothing new in my perspective, bro. I see stuff like this, worse probably, and with the Metro bus. But bro, all the teens were charged. Just like, where are they parents at, man? Like, it couldn't have been me. It couldn't have been me. And my parent found out that was me. Shit, I'm having an ass whooping almost every day. You get reminded that I'm on punishment. You feel me? Like, that's crazy, man. That was real crazy. I remember some years ago when it was some stuff going down in Baltimore, and the video went viral, and the lady was on Today News or whatever, and a lady's son was getting into all the commotion that was going on at the time. I think I don't know if this was around the time that the George Floyd death, but it was around the time that a high-profile black death that was going on, and everybody was protesting or whatnot. And the black boy, was seeing what was going on, so everybody else, he was just like, okay, I'm just going to join in. And his mother saw it and came down in and was whooping his ass, and it was on live TV, bro. And I think that's what some of these boys and girls need, man. Some structure in their life, bro. Maybe an ass whooping or two. Look, I don't know, but bro, come on, man. Grown ass woman, you kicking that person off the bus, man. WTF, man. WTF. What the world is coming to, man? What is the world coming to? Crazy. Hey, yo, man, I got a dope show coming up. I got my guy Will. He's the author, entrepreneur, and host of Conversations About ... That's going to be joining me after this quick break, you guys, for real. You don't want to miss it. Don't move. You're listening and you're watching to the 1130 podcast. You did? Don't move, man.
Hateful, insane nation that exists.
Vest to kind of show you, like, we made it through all of that. Now we're here, right. So I'm just very particular, bro, about like messages and like how people perceive the show. So that's kind of what
sound like you
he's very creative. That's a very, very creative process, because you don't really hear about that unless you go to some of these big time shows. You don't hear about people doing, like, getting real creative with the music while they on stage performing. Most of what we think, motherfucker be on there getting hype and hop, shit like that. You actually giving them like a vision with the music.
Yeah, it got to be an experience.
up? This your boy Kenneth Stones, aka Coffee Weaston.
This your boy DOE Good Brother Bowl.
And we are the Dirty Hills. You already know, man, you tuning in to 11:30 podcast. Not 7:30, but 11:30.
Dude, that's my job. Not 7:30, but 11:30.
Yeah. And you have been Dirty Hills approved.
Yo, we back here on the 11:30 podcast. Appreciate everyone sticking with me throughout the short break. As I've been saying the entire show, I have an awesome guest that's going to be joining me here this week on the 11:30 podcast. My guy William, he's the host of Conversations About. We're going to be chopping up with him everything, man, he got going on. He's a published author, entrepreneur, all that great stuff and more. We're gonna be chatting it up with my guy William. We don't waste no more time. Will, how's it going?
Man, it is going great. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Hey, I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the invite. We go back in the ways because I've been kind of networking and keeping up with your podcast for some time, and I noticed before we were talking when you came on, you were mentioning the wrestling podcast, and a lot of people definitely connect with me and jump off. It's like, yo, man, I definitely dig the wrestling podcast, and I'm a big wrestling fan, so I appreciate all the support that you have given me, and I just want to bring you on, man, and let my subscribers and everyone here on the podcast know about you and what you got going on. So I appreciate you, man. How like treating you?
It's doing well. I started a new job a few weeks ago and just working, learning about doing insurance. It's a whole new thing for me, just learning how to be a customer service person when it comes to doing insurance calls and trying to get people help on their policies and things like that. And then I've been reformatting some of my books. Amazon was nice enough to decide to take my stuff down because something broke, something got complained about. Instead of coming to me and saying, hey, we're going to take this one book down, they just said, we're going to close the whole thing out. So I'm basically taking all the stuff that I've done and reformatting it into one big book with a bunch of stories in it. Back in the day growing up, Disney used to come up with these big books. They would have like 10 or 15 stories in the book, and you would get the full gambit of what was going on. So I'm taking Pencil Ninja and putting it in a collected volume. So that way I can sell it myself.
Hey, okay, that's good. You said you I also mentioned you're a published author, and you was just talking about Amazon and your books and stuff. How did you get into being an author and stuff? How long you?
I started writing back around 2017. I was challenged by a guy. There was, every so often when you're on the internet, you get these people and they come on and say, hey, are you interested in writing a book? Message me, we'll talk. And so this guy was like, okay. So he calls me on a Saturday afternoon. I was off work and I was just like, hey, he's like, hey, you sign up for things and you're interested in writing. I said, okay, well, yeah, I am. And then he started running numbers for me on how much it would cost to get him to publish and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, I don't have that kind of money right now. And he's like, okay, well, he said, how about self-publishing? I said, what do you mean? And he's like, you know what? He said, dude, I got you on this call for an hour. We're just going to talk. And so he was like, look, you can self-publish your own stuff. You can go through Amazon right now. It's the best way to do it. Of course, I'm learning there's other ways to do it besides Amazon now. But so he talked to me. He spent that whole hour just like, okay, what kind of stories do you want to tell? I was like, well, I grew up in a world where Fat Albert, and He-Man and G.I. Joe and all this other stuff was out there growing up as a kid. And you had these really cool shows. Yeah, a lot of people complain about the 80s cartoons. They said, well, that was just nothing but big toy commercials. I'm like, yeah, but they had points. They would especially be like at the end of the show, for example, if they're talking about strangers, they'd say, well, Timmy learned a valuable lesson about the importance of dealing with strangers today. Or, Mandy learned a very important lesson about dealing with drugs and stuff like that. And so they always had a moral at the end. And so I was like, man, one thing I don't see a whole lot of in a lot of the shows today that are aimed at children are messages in the program that if you go and look back at the show after you've seen it at the end, they're like, oh yeah, they were talking about this throughout the whole thing. And so I kind of wanted to write stories. So I wrote, my first one was Hero Needed. Just because I remember growing up and being bullied as a kid. I was a fat, roly-poly black kid in a small town. And so, I was like, well, how can I take my story and kind of write it? I was like, well, I've got Pencil Ninja, who's my little sugar-powered robot boy. And I was like, if we take Pencil Ninja and help him kind of fit into this group of nerds that are like being bullied about a spot they're sitting in for lunch, well, what can we do that's a challenge? Okay, well, they're kids. So the bigger kids are like, hey, we'll play you the game of football for your spot. Okay. But the nerdy kids that are there, they only got 3 kids. You know, they don't have a whole lot of friends. They got each other. It's a little small unit of 3, and these bigger kids have 4 kids, and they're bigger. So because that Pencil Ninja shows up, he's like, oh, hey, I'm their 4th. Let's get it. They're like, okay, we don't, you know, and it's like, Pencil Ninja, what are you going to do? How are you going to help us? He's like, well, I'm going to find out what y'all are good at, because y'all are good at something. We're going to find out what you're good at so you can do well, and we can do this. And so, like, they played, like, basically, so whoever got the first 4 touchdowns or whatever in the course of a playground, which time is irrelevant in a book because you're sitting there going 4 touchdowns. I don't know. It's like, it takes 2 pages depending on how you write it. And so, and, you know, they won their game because they worked together to win. And then Pencil Ninja's whole thing kind of at the end was, see, y'all had it in you the whole time. Didn't even know it. Y'all could have taken, y'all could have dealt with this yourselves, but I'm glad I was able to help you see what you had in you. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's kind of like, what do you believe about yourself? But then also about dealing with bullies. And it's like, okay, you can stand up without just the trivial, you know, I got to learn to fight and go and punch a tree for 10 hours and then go back and punch the biggest dude in the playground, you know, because sometimes, you know, a lot of school situations, it's about doing it here, not just doing it with your fist. So that's kind of the idea of that initial book. And I've done others on everything from police and media to Your Life Matters, which is a book I did about just the idea, especially during the highlight of the like Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. Everybody was doing these different Lives Matter things. So it's just like the message I think anybody can hear is, I don't care what you look like, your life matters because God created you for something special. And I wanted kids to be able to hear, you know, yeah, you may have heard this about you as a kid. You may have heard your parents say this about you and it wasn't good. But you know what? You're still meant for something. You know, just because you've been told you're not doesn't mean it's true. And so those are the ideas that have come out of those things. So that's how I wrote a lot of my books, is to try to present a question and then answer the question in the course of the book.
Okay. I dig that. You mentioned bullying also in your love for writing. Was writing a way to escape from being bullied also as a kid?
My way of escaping bullying was more drawing, actually. Okay. And so with my books, I draw a lot of, I do a lot more of a manga-inspired style of book. So a lot of people look at my stuff and say, this is more like young adults, even though the lessons are for anybody, you know, because I believe if your message isn't universal, then your message isn't worth telling. Because it should track. If a person took my book to Africa and redid the text to fit an African text, the story should be something that people in Africa can relate to. If it goes to Germany, it should relate to people. Germany should be able to relate to the story, because if they can't relate to it, it's kind of, why would they pick it up? So that's just got that thing about the universality of the story. So
okay, I dig that. You know, bullying is very important, especially in today. Well, just in general, you know. But a lot of kids get bullied, and a lot of people, kids don't have a outlet, you know, to express themselves and or someone to go to without someone being judged. And I think mental health and mental health crisis is very important. So I think it's always good to reach out and talk to someone, and you know, be there for someone, and you know, not judge people and stuff. You got the podcast, man, that I've been digging the conversations about. How long you been doing the podcast?
I believe it was December 2019. My co-host Jingle was like, we had been talking. I did a YouTube channel for about a year or so, and we would meet up at different times on the YouTube channel. And he was just like, man, you know, one thing he noticed about me was, he said there were times where I would say something and I'd be right on the verge of being 100% right, but it wasn't always 100% right. Like, he'd be able to come in and be like, well, you know, actually it's this. Like, oh, okay, yeah, because I understand I could be wrong. And so he would come in and do that. So we would chop it up a little bit. So one day he was just like, you know, it'd be cool if we just sat down and did a podcast and just talked about this. He said, because one thing about it, he said, is that you're from a little bit different generation of geekdom. Because, you know, you were born in the 70s, growing up in the 80s, so you were exposed to stuff that we weren't exposed to. You know, and it's funny because, like, I'll be out sometimes, and I'll be out with a group of friends, and I'll be like, "Wonderful powers activate," and they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm just like, "Okay, I'm sorry, I different time." You know, and that's the thing. But he was just like, so we just started talking, and we set it up, and we've been running ever since. I mean, we talked to everything from race relations. And we try not to have if we have a heavy conversation, we try to make sure people are aware up front, like, hey, this is going to be a heavier subject, because I realized a lot of our audience is actually young teenagers in a lot of cases, because it's pop culture. And so it's a lot of teenagers to like college students. And so we don't try to go super heavy unless we have to. Like, I think we did the This Is America series where I was talking about stuff, especially during the George Floyd situation, where we were talking a lot. I was talking with a lot of different people from a lot of different cultures, trying to get a handle on not only their perspective on it, but then also just how they viewed situations. And in some cases, I was able to go on protests with some of these people and things like that. And so it's good talking to them. But then we just go for stuff like, okay, hey, She-Hulk finished. We're going to sit down and talk about She-Hulk this week. You know,
I gotta catch that. I got you. So tell everybody where they can catch your podcast is at. Before you move on, tell everyone where they can catch your podcast is at.
So
and definitely subscribe.
You know, conversations about ... We are on Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Amazon. As a matter of fact, recently we got accepted for Amazon. I'm going to be doing some stuff through the Wisdom app pretty soon. So if you're on the Wisdom app, listen out for me, because we'll be doing some different topics. I think I've got to talk about Kanye, but I don't know if I'm ready to do that with my co-hosts. I feel like Wisdom is a better place to do that, where I can get on there and just talk about random things, and I can include those clips in the episodes as well. So.
Okay. Hey, that's what's up. You guys, man, definitely hit the links down below. Conversations about ... and get at them. But you just mentioned Kanye West, and boy,
yeah, man, look, it's like you think it would die, but it just keeps kind of growing every day.
For a moment, it did die down, though. It did, you know, and then until about a week and a half ago.
It was like the news for a while was like, oh, he doesn't like Pete Davidson being with his girl. Oh, he still claims they're together even though they're not. Oh, he doesn't want his daughter being on Instagram. He ended up doxing his daughter's school. And I was like, wait, why would you do that though? Like, you understand what doxing does, right? Because now that means that other people that don't have access to you will try to get access to you through your daughter. Like, why would you put her in that kind of danger? You know? Yeah. And then now it's the anti-Semitic stuff, and now it's the White Lives Matter shirt with Candace Owens, and you know, and then apparently he's purchased Parler, and apparently like somebody was like, oh, we'll follow the money. I was like, what do you mean? They were like, who owns Parler? I looked it up, and it's actually Candace Owens' husband owns Parler. So it's like, wait, so is this friendship really about friendship and being aligned, or is it about, you know, pockets getting filled?
Look at, you know, for some time, you know, I talked about it, I think, a while ago when he mentioned the whole Harriet Tubman situation. And, you know, when he mentioned something else. And, you know, I mean, you can call this guy, you can keep on and say, yeah, man, this guy crazy, but what is really going on? I mean, I'm hearing something that, you know, he's acting outraged because how the music business is doing him, and now you got, after the interview on Drink Champs and everything he said prior, it's like everyone is canceling him, you know, from the interview that he had with LeBron, from Drink Sports, Drink Champs, they even pulled the interview, and it's just like, really, I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on with the guy. And like I said a while ago, I think the whole mental crisis is very important, and I think you need help. You know, it's not like you can't afford it. It's not. I don't know.
Right, and needing help is one thing if you're aware of it. And I know he has said he's had issues, but I mean, he's really said he's had issues dealing with stuff ever since his mom passed away. But I've never heard him talk about what he has done to get that help. And then also there was a whole period, you know, where he was doing the Sunday services and all that stuff, and he was preaching at like Joel Osteen's church in Houston and different things like that, speaking about the Bible, speaking about the Word and stuff like that. And then now you're going, well, you know, I'm gonna go DEFCON 5 on the Jews. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I mean, let's talk about that Bible for a minute, Kanye. Let's talk about the fact that Jesus came to his own first. His own were Jewish people. His descendants were Jewish people. So if you're going to go after the Jews now you're going to conflict against your own religion. I mean, we've already had that happen because, I mean, if you look at a lot of the Catholic Church, I mean, they became very anti-Semitic in a way. They took a lot of the Jewishness out of, I'd say Catholic Church, really. You could talk about Constantine. If you go back to Constantine, he took out a lot of Jewish context on Scripture. And so then he basically made it to where it was like, okay, if you're a Roman citizen, you're going to be a Christian. If you're a Christian, you're a Roman citizen. Even if the people didn't change their lives or didn't do anything, all they did was do a name flip on a piece of paper saying, I've decided to be this now, even though their lifestyle had nothing to do with that prior.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't even really know right now. I'm just gonna let Kanye just go. I just hope he just gets some help, because everything in it's a situation that was going on with Alex. I can't even think of his name, but
Alex Jones?
Alex Jones, where he was talking bad about the families, about that school, and now you got Kanye West doing the same thing, talking about how George Floyd was on fentanyl. I'm just like,
he died claiming he died of fentanyl, even though 2 medical examiners said there were issues with the DOJ.
Yeah, the stories and the concept, and I can't even find the right word, but just everything he's putting up and putting out there is just like, wow, like what's really going on with this dude? Like I don't know. Oh man, I really don't know. Man, we're gonna move on here on the podcast. We got Halloween coming up. You doing anything for Halloween? Any plans?
You know, Halloween, I think it's on a Monday this year. And so I mean, of course, I'll be working that day. I mean, where I live, we don't have a whole lot of kids walking around looking for candy and everything. So, I mean, other than that, I mean, it would be nice to find like a fall festival to go out and maybe work and do some artwork on, do some drawing, some kids or something, do something fun just for some families.
Okay.
But every kid loves to have themselves drawn. I mean, you know, you just be amazed at they'll be like, I won't put that on my refrigerator. They'll be like, okay. So, you know, something like that, it would be cool to be able to get out and do something like that. I just got to figure out where the stuff is and then try to figure out, because most of them are going to be, since it's on a Monday, most of them are doing like the weekend before type thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is going to be my my son's first Halloween. So,
oh, wow.
Real cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is going to be real cool. Dress him up, you know, because I remember times when I was a kid and I dress up. I was a Power Ranger or, you know, Batman. Kids don't be, you know, cartoon characters nowadays. They just, you know, it's wild. You know, I don't know if you heard about the Jeffrey Dahmer, the whole Netflix situation.
Netflix thing, yeah.
You know how people are dressing up as him for Halloween and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, like what happened to being just, you know?
I wish there was a time machine and we could take you back to the era whenever that trial hit. And the feelings that people had then, because I lived through that. And like I'm sitting there going, like, I can't believe that we did a Netflix special and all of a sudden everybody's sexifying this thing up and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, it's real weird. I was talking about it earlier, how he had a pizza made in Texas at a restaurant. It was called the Jeffrey Dahmer special. And it was made of, you know, fingers and eyeballs, and obviously, you know, it's not real,
right?
But how people come up with this stuff, you know, it's just it's weird, you know, how the country is fascinated with this stuff. It's just I don't know. I don't even know. All right, you guys. We're gonna move on here on the podcast. I always ask my guests, man, because you're an uplifting guy, man. What keeps you motivated, and what inspires you?
Well, first of all, what keeps me uplifted is my faith. I've been a man of faith for a bit, and one thing I keep learning is that God never fails in spite of me. I'm not the perfect person. I will never claim to be. I have my own issues. I have my own drama. I told somebody one time, I said, if you knew what everything was going on through my head, you wouldn't want to get to know me at all. But that's okay, because if I knew everything going on in your head, I wouldn't want to get to know you either. But the thing about it is that God, through Christ, has really strengthened me and encouraged me through some tough times. I mean, last year, losing my mother. The year before that, losing my stepfather. The year before that, going through a medical emergency and losing several pints of blood over the course of an hour or two. It's just really interesting to me how God has continued to be faithful in my life. And so that's what inspires me. Of course, this word inspires me. People in my church inspire me. I have a great pastor, Pastor Andrew Taylor, who is really involved in my life. Even though we are miles away from each other physically, we still are communicating on a regular basis. I'm reading a lot of good books. I've just recently been to a Bible study series, going to a Bible study series called Jesus, Is He, Who Is He? Is He a Savior or a Lunatic? You know, kind of the idea of dealing with the way that he was perceived then, but how the word talks about him and how the people around him perceived him, and how people perceive him now. And so that's something, I mean, of course, I've got the memories of people like my mom who inspire me even still, even though she's no longer with me. Just things she has said over the years, life lessons that I learned from her really inspire me. And then people around me that love me and that I love as family, you know, really keep me going. I've got good people in my corner, and so I thank God for them, because some people have walked away for less. So I'm thankful for those who have chose to stay because they see what God has in me, and so that's my inspiration, really.
I dig that, man. I always ask that question every week, because it's always, you know, the world we live in and the time that we live in, man. There's always something that is, you know, the negative energy is real loud, so you gotta, you know, you gotta protect that. You gotta protect yourself, your energy, man, and just with positive things and keep uplifting and inspiring, not only yourself but others. Though, from that, we go on, you guys, to the inspirational quote of the week, you guys. Yes, inspirational quote of the week. This week, you guys, never let your past decisions determine your future outcome, you guys. Yes, never let your past decisions determine your future outcome. Everyone, man, no one's perfect. You know, we go through stuff, you know, ups and downs and stuff, and whatever that you have done or been through, just long as you had a chance and you got back up the next day to move on and move forward and put 2 feet forward, or in my case, 2 wheels or 6 wheels forward, you know, just that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. Don't focus on the past, and the future is bright, man. The future is bright.
And our apostle actually spoke on that a week ago when he talked about the idea of looking at your past. Your past should be a stepping stone into your future. Your past should never hold you back from your future. Because when you look at your past, it's not meant to be something that holds you there. You're meant to learn from it and grow and be better in your current and in the future. So don't, your past won't, because a lot of people are locked in their past, good or bad. You know, some people get the Uncle Rico syndrome from Napoleon Dynamite, and they be like, man, I remember when I was in high school, if I had a chance, I could have thrown that pass, I'd have been a whole different person. I could have played in the NFL and all that stuff. And you never move past that point. You may be 40 years old, but you never moved past high school, because in your mind, you were like, if I had made this decision here, how different would my life have been? But it's like, okay, so what are you doing to make your life different today? Right. You know, we ain't got a DeLorean. We can't jump back in time. You know, we ain't got a doctor going, Marty, we got to get back in time. We can't do that. So what are we doing today to make our lives better?
Yeah. You got to focus on the future, man, and just, you know, another day to make things right. You know, another day to make things right and go after it, man. And yeah, I'd have had a few people I'd have been around, and that's all they would say, man. You know what, man? Or they would talk about the past, or more so than that. You know, I'm like, well, what's going on with the future? What's going on now? And, you know,
where are you going?
Exactly. Where are you going? Because a lot of people ain't going.
Yeah, the mirror in your car is not meant. The mirror in your car that you're looking up in the middle of your car is not meant to guide you to where you're going. It's meant to look behind you to make sure ain't nothing crazy going on behind you.
Exactly. Exactly.
When you
And a
got
lot
to
of people
change
not
the
going.
game.
And then it's crazy because a lot of people are not going nowhere. They just going in circles. You know, it's just a big old cycle for them, and it's just going in circles. And once we, especially in the black community, find a way to get out of that circle, that cycle, and start, propelling on. Just you gotta learn how to just make that leap of faith and just go for it, and just
Yeah.
not worried about what so many people think about you and oh, what's gonna happen when I fail? Or oh, I should have done this, just like you said. Or what would happen when I did this? Just go for it. Man. Just go for
And
it. You
what's
only
going to
get
happen
one
when
life.
you fail is you're going to get up and you're going to try it again, but differently.
Yeah,
You're going to
you're
learn
right.
from that failure because guess what? We're all going to fail. Like if you have a fear, I heard my pastor say one time, he said, your biggest fear is not failure. Your biggest fear is not fear of failure. Your biggest fear is fear of success. Because if you succeed, you got to change your lifestyle to fit the success that's there now. Because you don't get to go back to failure after you succeeded.
Right. I dig that. I dig that. You guys, man, we're gonna keep it moving on here on the 11:30 podcast, you guys, man. It's time for the 11:30 podcast, hot seat, you guys. Yes, man. It's time for the hot seat, you guys. Yeah. All right. It's time for the hot seat. Well, I got 6 questions for you, and we're gonna roll with it. You ready?
Sure.
All right. Number 1. All right, here we go. What is your biggest fear?
Biggest fear is not making an impact. Just leaving the world, and not have made a good impact on it.
Okay. I like that. There's a bonus question. What type of impact would you like to make if you had the chance or the opportunity?
First, somebody sees that God being in my life was much different than me without God. And anybody can make that decision. It's not a race thing. It's not a culture thing. He's available to anyone who wants it. He will not come into your world and smack you and be like, "You're going to accept me." It's like, no, you make a choice to accept. So
Okay. I dig it. I like it. All right. For what in your life do you feel most grateful for?
I feel most grateful for life itself and time, because I understand that life is something I'm given. Time is something I can only spend once. Although I may live to see another Saturday, I will never get this Saturday back. So I've got to make an impact and do something good in every day, every step I make, as much as I can. I don't have time to waste because I don't know how much time I have.
Yeah, you're right about that. Man. You got to make the most you can out of each day. Tomorrow is not promised, but today is. You only have the moment you have is right now. Shout out to my guy Jimmy IV for that, man. I like that, man. The moment you have is right now. So, okay. If you were in a high speed chase, what song would you be blaring on the radio?
I'm Breaking the Habit by Linkin Park.
Oh, by Linkin Park.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking
situation. I need something that's like. I need something that's just going.
They get you going. Okay. Man, but I was thinking of this. I was like, for some reason, Ludacris, move, get out of the way. That was the only one that I could think of. I was like, okay, yeah, if I was in a high speed chase, get out the way, man, for real. Okay, pizza or tacos?
Tacos.
Okay. What's your favorite kind of tacos?
Breakfast taco, actually. I lived in Texas for a lot of years, and so I learned to appreciate the land of breakfast tacos, whether it be from a taco truck, whether it be from Buc-ee's, whether it be from other stores in the area. If I was up early enough to get breakfast, it was always going to be a breakfast taco for me. I mean, sausage, eggs, cheese, usually some sort of salsa. Nothing too special, but it was just always delicious. Like I never experienced a bad breakfast taco.
That's what's up. Big taco fan. Gotta try that one. Okay. What's one thing that people always misunderstood about you?
I'm a big dude, but that doesn't mean I'm a mean dude. Been a big guy most of my life, but I believe once people get past that, which I mean, there are a lot of misconceptions about big people in general. but that I do have a heart underneath this. And so I feel like that's the thing. And, you know, a heart for hopefully that leads for good.
Okay. Where do you see yourself at in a year?
I would love to be excelling at my job, but I would also love to be traveling around the world, helping people write their stories. An interesting statistic when it comes to writing and publishing books is that I think they said the average statistic is about 80% of people in the world want to write one book in their lifetime and publish it so that they can get their message out there to the world. But out of that 80%, only 2% actually do it. So I want to find a way to help people write their stories because I believe everybody has a story to tell, whether it's a fiction story, whether it's a nonfiction story, whether it's a story about dealing with triumph over insurmountable odds, or whether it's just something as simple as, hey, there's this little boy puppet that wants to be a real boy, and his cricket's running around with him, and he's trying to teach him how to do things. You know, everybody has a story to tell, and, you know, that story can have a huge impact on the lives of people.
Hey,
they're going to be out there.
Yeah, that's one thing I say a lot too. Everyone has a story to tell.
If it's just here, how is it going to get out to the world?
Right. You're definitely right. Hey, Will, man, I appreciate you coming through here on the 1130 podcast, man. This was real fun talking to you, man, chopping it up with you. It was real great. Before we go, man, you mentioned you're a big wrestling fan.
I am. I grew up watching Mid-South back in the day, old school with Jerry Lawler and Dusty Rhodes and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, baby. Yeah. I tell you what, I winded down with Kings and Queens and ate an alley for poker beans. I'm the little plumber boy. It's so sweet. But I watched Mid-South Wrestling with my uncle growing up, and so then I carried over into watching more Attitude Era, you know, and stuff. But it's, you know, of course, the WWF model where you had like Hulk Hogan and, you know, what you gonna do, Mean Gene? When the Hulkamaniacs and the millions of Hulkamaniacs turn wild on you, and of course, then my man, Macho Man Randy Savage, like, oh yeah, Hogan, let me tell you what you're gonna do, man. Yeah, man, this is running wild. You ain't got no control over that, man. Yeah. You know, that type of stuff. And then, of course, Ric Flair.
Oh.
You know, stuff like that. So grew up into it, watched through Attitude Era. You know, when you had the man that's now the star of the Black Adam movie running around telling about the millions and millions of the Rock's fans. You know, stuff like that. You know, Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin came out there and told us, I almost Rick or Steve Weiser. If you want me to break this fool down, give me a hell yeah. You know, that type of thing.
Hell yeah.
All through that. And then, of course, you now have the new era going now as the Triple H regime. And, you know, all kind of things going on over there now.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's been around for some time, man. And look at one thing I could say that you were mentioning, you know, a lot of the old school wrestlers like Ric Flair, Hogan, Macho Man, Randy Savage, all those guys. And you when you think of those guys, you cannot help to think of Vince McMahon. And, you know, Vince McMahon, who, you know, created and came up with a lot of these legendary characters in the WWF, or now, you know, WWE, because of, you know, the legal battles that they had to change the name. And I never would thought that he would retire. And once I took a break in like a weekend, I was like, wow, like, man, oh man. So, yeah, I know all of that.
A lot of legal stuff going on with that, too. I mean, that's still being under investigation with some of the claims that have been made and different things like that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I know they refer to it as a retirement, which that makes sense if you were going to do that. Because I don't feel like the board could wait much longer, because it was either going to be one of those where he was going to be retired or he was going to have to be asked to walk away. And I don't think they wanted to ask him to walk away. I think it was just better. You know, it's kind of one of those things where sometimes you get the option at the job where they say, well, you can either resign from your job or we can fire you.
Mm-hmm. Hey, look, I think it was time. It was time for Vince to just hang it up. I've been a fan since the Attitude Era, and I go back to look at stuff prior to that, and just so many iconic stuff that he came up with. Even WrestleMania, like, that's not even just talking about you know, WrestleMania, but just so much stuff. So It wouldn't be the business it would be now without him. But just over the last couple of years, after things was just like, okay, yeah, he's losing it, and it's just not going well, and just like, hey, Stephanie, when the news broke and he retired, and they announced that Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan was the co-owners of the business, I knew that Stephanie was going to make her husband the head of head of talent and head creator. Yeah, like he got it, especially what he was doing with NXT. And over the last, I don't know how many weeks since he have taken over, it got better. So
yeah, well, I thought it was funny.
over some time.
People were talking about the whole idea that oh well, Triple H didn't beat AEW with the developmental stuff, so therefore they got rid of him. It's like, nah, like the dude had a heart attack issue. Like he was gone to get healthy. Like it didn't have anything to do with them saying, well, he didn't beat, because he even came out in an interview and said basically it was never about he said the position in the office was AEW is a thing. We know it's out there. We know it exists. But we're not in competition with them. Like this is a developmental property. And yeah, we would say it's a third brand because we felt like it was, but at the same time, it wasn't ever a competition. Like, we weren't trying to keep AEW away, so to speak. Like, we know they're out there.
Yeah, and at one point, it was a third brand. The intentions was never for it to be a third brand. It was just the developmental territory. And it became hotter than Raw. It became hotter than SmackDown. It was the hottest show to watch. You know,
remember I feel like I think it was Survivor Series one year when it was basically NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown.
Yes. That year was awesome because I remember like Keith Lee. He was the sole survivor for his NXT team, and Roman Reigns. They were going at it, beautiful, thing they were putting on. Roman that gave him the nod, like I'll see you down the line, but obviously. Keith Lee now in AEW.
Man, I wish WWE had treated him better because I watched Keith Lee on the Indies. And I was like, dude, this dude got something. Like, this dude is like Bam Bam Bigelow reincarnated. Like,
when he got the WWE, I had to watch some of his stuff on the Indies, though. Like, his matches with Dominic Dijakovic was awesome. Like, all his matches in NXT, I thought that was amazing. So, I didn't understand how they dropped the ball on Keith Lee, though.
Keith Lee was somebody I was hoping. The moment that I thought we were going to get a good push out of it was during the Royal Rumble when it was him and Brock in the ring. And Brock's like, who the heck is this?
Oh, yeah.
Brock threw the elbow, tried to throw the elbow, throw the clothesline on him, and he just sat there and looked at him and laughed. He was like, what is this?
Hey, yo, Will, man, I definitely got to get you on. We got to set up and get you on the wrestling podcast so we can definitely tap in and chat more wrestling, man. For real, this was definitely awesome and definitely an awesome time. I appreciate you taking the time out your day to come on the 11:30 podcast. But before you go, any shout outs, any questions, anything you'd like to say?
This man would like to shout out my co-host, Jingles and Spider Roscoe. They are incredible. They're phenomenal. Shout out to Catherine Everything, who was most recently on. Shout out to Bino, one of our we call her the ultimate fangirl because she's one of our biggest fans. She's been one of our biggest supporters and greatly appreciate her. She's been on the show a few times and we just chop it up with her and we just have a good time talking with her. And just for the people that listen and rock with us for over 200 plus episodes. And we're now in the next phase of whatever the plan is going forward, and we're gonna ride with it. I think we're gonna eventually start doing MCU for Dummies series. We basically break down the Marvel stages and stuff like that because a lot of people, if they weren't watching the original movies and they don't have time to go back and be like, well, let me go watch Iron Man now and then start watching the 22 other films and Infinity Saga and all that stuff. It's like, we want to help people get stuff to that way they know stuff going into the newer things.
I dig it, man. I dig it. That's what's up, man. Man, once again, well, man, I appreciate you coming through here on the podcast. For everyone who's listening and everyone who's watching on YouTube, and for those who are listening on Spotify, the links will be down below. Yes, get at conversations about ... Make sure you subscribe, tell a friend about the podcast, and yo, any new books, any new projects coming up?
Like I said, the main thing right now is just doing the big bundle of the Pencil Ninja stories. Once I get that done, my next project is actually going to be a story about a character I created, helped create, and we've been doing Pathfinder episodes where we're doing role-playing games. And so the character I created for myself is a character named Harbinger. And if you could imagine just a big mountain of a man who goes off to war, much against the wishes of his family, who are very much peaceful people. And so he goes off to war to prove himself in battle. He ends up losing a friend of his. He gets mad, thinks he can take over the world. He almost dies. And he ends up in front of a monastery, bleeding out, just almost on the verge of death, hallucinating and everything else. And then he gets found by these people at the monastery. They help him heal. And then they start teaching him about what true peace looks like in the midst of fighting for others. And so he kind of, it's basically my love story of all things 70s Kung Fu flicks, mixed with a little bit of fantasy.
I got you. Hey, look at, don't give it away just yet, man. You gotta get the book out so they can, come and read it, man. I definitely dig it. Once again, I appreciate you coming through here on the podcast. This was really dope, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate being on, man. It's a good time.
Yo, Will, appreciate you joining me this week here on the podcast. Dope time vibing with you. Awesome time having you on. The books, all the links will be down below. Check out conversations about ... And man, like it was awesome, man. Like I said, get you a copy of some of his awesome books, you guys. And bullying, man, that is top notch, man. You gotta take bullying serious. A lot of people man, just don't have no one to turn to, especially at that young age. But you see my man Will took the pen, put it to the books, and start writing down some of these emotions and stuff that he was going through, or whatever like that, and his passion come to fruition. But yo, Will, once again, thank you for coming through here on the 1130 podcast. Man, dope time. Also, you guys, man, Talk Pro Wrestling, as me and my guy Will was chatting about wrestling, big wrestling fan. Tune in this Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, for an all-new episode of Talk Pro Wrestling. Check out the latest episode that's out right now. Speaking of wrestling commission talks, man, we live today, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook. Yo, tap into the Off the Top Ropes podcast on YouTube and follow them on social media platforms so you can stay wavy, man. So you can stay notice of what's going on. But man, this was definitely a great show. Definitely a great vibe. You guys, once again, Beyond 1130. Let me get it right. Beyond 1130 is coming December 1st. Got some amazing guests. The first season of Beyond 1130 coming December 1st. Got some great guests lined up. Great content that's coming. You guys, you don't want to miss that also. And once again, this podcast right here, the 1130 podcast on Spotify. You guys, we are on Spotify now, and also on Anchor FM, but definitely on Spotify. Leave that 5-star rating. Tell everyone about the 1130 podcast. Share it. It'll be great. Will, once again, thank you, my guy, for coming here on the podcast, man. For real, thank you so much. But before I go, you guys, you know what time it is. Don't forget to follow the 1130 podcast on all social media platforms. Follow me on Twitter at the 1130 podcast, like the 1130 podcast on Facebook. And if you haven't done so this entire episode, hit that subscribe button down below. You guys say yes, like it, leave a comment. Tell me what you like about the show. Tell me what you don't like about the show, what you want to hear, what you want to talk about. All that great stuff, man. Appreciate it a lot. Also, follow the 1130 podcast on TikTok at the 1130 podcast. Follow me on Instagram at the 1130 podcast _. Yes, at the 1130 podcast _ You guys, hit the link in the bio. Get you some merch. Get you some merch. Bonfire.com. The 1130 podcast merch is available right now. Get at it. Get you a hoodie, a shirt, whatever, man. You got to stay fly, man. Like the man Dre, aka Dre on Wheels, man. Yo. Oh, man. This was great. Like I said, a great show. I say it all the time. So excited to be a dad, man, for real. Man, before I leave, man, anybody else kids out there? Because my son is a beast when you don't have his food ready. You know, his mama took his picture this other day and she said, "Caption this," and it was like all in the group family chat, bro. And it was so funny. My man was like, "Yo, like, nigga, please, bro, if you don't have my food ready, bro." But yeah, my son be going off, man, if you don't have my man food ready, bro. For real. My sister said something about her son at one time, and I was like, yeah, okay, let me. But I ain't never get to hear him, you know, cry with her. But my man got vocals on him though. But yeah, being a dad, man, is awesome. I'm loving it, man. He's 3 months, he'll be 5 months when Christmas coming around. I'm just so excited, man. For real. More story time, dad talk, and all that coming up, you guys, man. I don't want to just run through them, man. I got some more story time coming up. And once again, beyond 11:30, you don't want to miss that, man. December 1st. Yo, I'm out of here. This was great. Enjoy you guys' week, the rest of your week. See you Friday for Talk Pro Wrestling. For all my wrestling fans, I hope you guys enjoy NXT and Monday Night Raw and all the festivities of the week. But we're going to keep it rolling on, man. For real. I'll see you guys next week. Yo, it's your man Dre, a.k.a. Dre on Wheels. And I'm out.